Ainz Ooal in Equestria, written by Zokind. Chapter 1. Looking for friends. Suzuki Satoru had been transported to a new world in the last day of the Yggdrasil game instead of get thrown out of the server, and the world in which he has landed it's full of ponies. Fortunately for him, his guild and all his inhabitants have come with him. What will be the reaction of the inhabitants of Equestria before the coming of an undead of the highest order? This story happens during and a little before of the last My Little Pony movie and later the series. This is my very first try of a story in English. It can be found a Spanish version, my mother language, on the fan fiction site. I will be posting just this part of the story here because it is the only one that is a full crossover with MLP, and will be posting chapters as fast as I can translate. The full story, it's a multi-crossover composed of various pieces. The original first chapter it's not added because, simply put, it is a resume of the first book of the Overlord LN. It's a little slow in the beginning, so beg you a bit of patience. Any comment will be appreciated, the same for any grammatical mistake pointed. Hope my humble work be of your like. Since he was thrown into this new world instead of being kicked out of the server of the game known as Yggdrasil, Suzuki Satoru has been resetting his new life. His body was no more a flesh one, now he had his in-game avatar body, that is of a skeleton mage of the highest order, an overlord. Now, he not only does not need to sleep, eat, or even breath, had gained all his avatar abilities, even his guild base, and come with him, and he was trying to verify his limits and slash or if everything was working as in the game. The dressing room inside Momonga's quarters was full of all kinds of different items, almost to the point of running out of space. Not only were there armor, but there were also from staves to swords. There was no lack of anything. If there was an amazing item to the sale, many people could not avoid buying it, which resulted in the state in which the room had been. From the variety of weapons in the room, Momonga picked up a sword. Since it did not have a sheath, the silver blade shone in the light. He took it and waved it around. It was as light as a feather. This was certainly not due to the sword being made of some very light material, but rather to Momonga's tremendous strength. Since he was a sorcerer, the abilities related to his magic were very high, but his physical abilities were relatively low. However, after reaching level 100, he had accumulated numerous strength points in his stats, which should not be underestimated. He assumed a striking position and made a cutting motion with the sword, but the sound of metal hitting the floor was immediately heard, and it now lay on the ground. Momonga didn't take it back and instead looked at her empty hands. This confused him quite a bit. If the behavior and the words of the NPCs implied that this was a real world and not a game, in a game, his body had restrictions. In Yggdrasil, it was impossible that someone like him, who did not choose a warrior type class, could equip himself a sword. But if this world had become real, using one should be possible now, so why did not work? He shook his head and decided not to continue to bother thinking about this matter. In the absence of enough information, no matter how much he thought about it, he would find no answer. Clean this up. The maids followed Momonga's order, and he turned to look at a wall that was almost completely covered in mirrors. Seeing that his so familiar body had turned into this strange shape should make anyone uncomfortable, but he felt completely indifferent. Due to all the time he had played Yggdrasil before, he was already familiar with his current appearance. But there was another reason for his calm. Just like his appearance, it seemed that his mental faculties had also been affected. In the first place, there were his emotions. The moment he experienced strong emotions, these were immediately discarded to calm him. It was almost as if something was repressing them. Another point was his lack of any type of desire, be it hunger or sleep. At first, it seemed to him that he had a certain sexual appetite, but even after touching Albedo's soft breasts, there was no additional impulse. Feeling as if he had lost something very important, Momonga couldn't help but look at his crotch. Since I wasn't using it, has it disappeared? Feeling frustrated by the situation, he said these words, but before he could finish half of the sentence, the feeling had completely vanished. Momonga believed that these changes were extremely helpful, particularly mental changes. Although he now possessed the body and mind of an undead, deep down he was still only a human. He could still experience emotions, but the moment those emotions became very strong they were instantly suppressed. Although he was worried that with enough time his emotions could disappear completely. The existence of NPCs like Shaltir, who was also undead, suggested that perhaps being undead was not the cause of his lack of emotion, even if it was still too early to say something. Create great item. When using the spell, he was instantly covered by a complete set of armor. It was made of matte black metal and covered with gold and purple decorations, giving it the appearance of being very expensive. Momonga moved a little to check it. Although he felt some pressure, the armor did not restrict his movements. It fits him very well and covered every part of his body, making it impossible for anyone to see his bones. Apparently, as in Yggdrasil, as long as it is an item created with magic, I have no problem using it. Momonga admired the result in the mirror. Wearing a helmet that completely covered his face, his reflection gave the impression of a majestic warrior. He nodded with satisfaction. swallowing his non-existent saliva, and with an innocent and playful face said, "I'm going out for a bit. The guards are ready at all times." The maid immediately replied on reflex, "But this is getting annoying." The first day his guards followed him, he felt somewhat oppressed. The second day, he was already used to it and wanted to show off his guards. But when the third day came, he couldn't help but sigh. No matter where he went, his bodyguards followed him. Furthermore, they all bowed when they stood before him. That was simply too heavy. He could have borne it if he could only walk normally with his guards, but since he had to maintain his role as ruler of the great tomb of Nazareth, he could not show the slightest weakness, so it was very stressful. This mental fatigue was part of his human side. As the ruler of the great tomb of Nazareth, it would be very dangerous if some emergency arose, and he would find himself in that state. During such a situation he could make a fatal mistake. He needed to relax a bit. "It's not necessary. I don't want anyone to follow me, I want to walk alone. Please wait. In the event that Momonga-sama encounters any problems, we must act as his shield. In no way can we allow something to happen to Momonga-sama. It would be too cruel to ignore their feelings." However, it had already been 3 days since they arrived here. During all this time, Momonga was trying to maintain his dignity as a ruler, and his heart longed for a break. Although he felt bad for them, Momonga had already prepared an excuse. "There is something secret that I have to take care of, so I will not allow anyone to follow me." A short silence. Momonga felt that a long time had passed. When the maid finally answered, "Yes, Momonga-sama, please be careful." First, he would go and see the outskirts of Nazareth for himself. He had to confirm with his own eyes whether it was possible to go to other places. This was extremely important. Shaking off thoughts of guilt, he activated the power of his ring. The place where it had been sent was a huge plaza. Using the power of Ooal's ring, it was possible to teleport to the place closest to the surface, the ground floor of the great tomb of Nazareth, the central mausoleum. Even if with only some steps he could be already outside, did not move. Before he was something unexpected. There were 3 powerful monsters with 3 more behind each one in the way, making a total of 12 of them. One of them looked like a terrifying demon. His body was covered in scales and fangs protruded from his mouth. He also had sharp claws on his strong arms, and in addition to the snake-like tail he had a pair of flaming wings. Another of them was a female monster with the head of a black raven and wore tight-fitting leather gear. The last monster wore armor that exposed its chest and strong abdominal muscles. If it weren't for the bat wings on its back and 2 horns coming out of his temples, he would not look like a monster. Even so, in his eyes one could see an insatiable desire. Their names were Demon of Wrath, Demon of Envy, and Demon of Greed. These were level 80 monsters, and behind them was some of their most powerful subordinates, all of which were created in the kingdom of Demiurge in the underground volcano, next to the door to the 8th floor, and had the responsibility of guarding it. "Why are Demiurge's soldiers here?" A shadow appeared next to the monsters. Then he finally understood the puzzle. Demiurge. Upon being named, the demon showed a surprised expression that could have been interpreted as, "Why is my master here?" or "Who is that mysterious monster?" For now, trying to ignore and circumvent the demons and leave them behind, he continued walking towards the wall. All the demons' eyes were focused on his body, but Momonga used his willpower to suppress his cowardly emotions. He straightened his back and kept walking. When the distance between the 2 sides became small, all the demons got on their knees to greet him. Demiurge was in front. His movements were clean and elegant as if he were the incarnation of a prince. "Momonga-sama, why are you out here all alone? Where are your guards? And also, why is that you are wearing that kind of outfit?" "Ah, well, there goes the cover. No wonder. After all, Demiurge can be considered the most intelligent being of Nazareth. Besides, they only had to add 2 plus 2. After all, I am the only one who can freely teleport inside the tomb. No one else has the Ooal ring." "Ah, there are several reasons. If it's about you, Demiurge, I'm sure you should already know why I'm dressed like this." Demiurge's face showed a complicated expression. After taking a little breath he said, "Forgive me, I don't understand Momonga-sama's intentions. Call me Black Knight." "Black Knight-sama." It seemed that Demiurge wanted to say something, but Momonga decided to ignore him. There was a reason why he wanted him to correct himself. Although his servants were the only ones present, this place was originally an entrance, so there should be many different servants coming and going. So to prevent them from realizing who he was, he wanted to avoid mentioning his name. It was not clear to him how much of his intentions the archdemon had understood. At that moment, suddenly, it seemed to have a revelation. "I see. So that's what's going on. Ha! What?" Momonga couldn't help but wonder. He couldn't guess how much the intelligent Demiurge had been able to understand. He could only sweat a non-existent sweat under his helmet, hoping that Demiurge at least understood his intentions. "At last I have a slight understanding of Momonga-sama." Profound insight. "Not Black Knight-sama, of course, this is a problem worthy of a ruler, but I can't just stand by without doing anything about the matter of your guard. although I know what I'm going to suggest will cause some trouble, please, I hope you will mercifully allow us to accompany you. It seems there is no other option, then I will allow only one person to come. Demiurge showed a graceful smile. I am grateful that Black Knight-sama granted my whimsical request. Just tell me, Black Knight, there is no need for honorifics. How could I? I will by no means allow anyone to refer to you in that way, of course. If it is some kind of undercover work or some special kind of task, I will obey that order, but inside the great tomb of Nazarick, no one would dare address you like that, Momonga-sama, not Black Knight-sama. I apologize, I will not make you waste more of your precious time. The archdemon turned his head to his subordinates to give instructions, so the rest of you, be alert. When you return, tell the others that I will be abroad. Yes, Demiurge-sama, good, let's go. Demiurge, who was kneeling, got up and followed him. As he set foot outside the mausoleum, the sight Momonga received was bewitching: a sky with some clouds, a full moon in the distance, and a beautiful aurora on the horizon, all captured on a starry night. The great tomb of Nazarick had an area of 200 square meters. It was surrounded by 6-meter-thick walls and had entrances on the front and back. The grass in the cemetery was kept short, giving it a refreshing atmosphere, but the cemetery had large trees with leaves that covered the entire area with shade, creating a sad atmosphere. The well-kept grass and the cluttered tombs created a great feeling of disparity, and not only that, the area was adorned with beautiful carvings of angels and goddesses, along with other works of art. But one could not ignore the chaotic design of the cemetery. There were also, in addition to 4 small mausoleums in the 4 corners of the cemetery, a large central mausoleum with a 6-meter statue of a warrior being protected by soldiers. Momonga stood at the top of some wide stone stairs and calmly observed the landscape. Originally the tomb was located in Helheim, an icy world with an endless night, but today's landscape was completely different. He looked at the sky, and he sighed excitedly, constantly shaking his head as if he didn't believe what he was seeing. To be able to do this in a virtual world, it's impossible. It's truly amazing. The air here is so pure, there are no traces of pollution in the air. People born in this world would never need artificial lungs or hearts. I have never seen such a clear sky. Momonga wanted to use a spell, but the armor obstructed him. As long as he was wearing it, there were only 5 types of spell that could be used. Sadly, the spell Momonga wanted to use was not one of them. He reached out into the empty air and took an accessory from his item box. It was a necklace in the shape of bird wings. He put it on and focused his attention on it, activating its hidden power. Flight. The Overlord ascended into the sky rapidly, while Demiurge followed him. Inadvertently he had risen several hundred meters in a beat. Then he stopped and took off his helmet. He was speechless. No, seeing this world left him speechless. The blue-white light of the moon and the stars drove the darkness away from the earth. The clouds moved, blown by the breeze. The ice and snow on the ground and the mountains around them reflected the light, making it seem that the sky stretched to the ground, so he couldn't help but sigh. Beautiful. No, too beautiful to put into words. I have no idea what kind of face Blue Planet San would make if he could see this, Momonga thought while remembering his partner. A warm and kind man who loved the night sky. No, what he loved was nature. He loved nature, although it had been polluted and had almost fully disappeared. He spent much of his time and work in building and designing the 6th floor, especially the night sky, creating his ideal world. If you could saw this world, I could not tell how excited you would be, or how deep and passionate the discussion to have with you would be. He heard a flutter, and the hybrid form of Demiurge entered his visual field. On his back was a pair of wet-looking black wings. His face was something that looked more like that of a frog. Some of the heteromorphic races could transform. In Nazarick, in addition to Demiurge, also Sebastian and Albedo had alternative forms. Momonga looked away from the transformed Demiurge and looked again at the stars in the sky, and as if talking to his friends who were no longer there, he sighed. Even only with the moon and stars I can see the landscape. It's hard to believe that this is truly a real world. Blue Planet San. The sky is pretty bright, like a jewel box. Perhaps, the beauty of this world are gemstones, created just for the sake of decorating Momo. Black Knight-sama. Demiurge said these words of flattery that seemed alike at the strange delusions of his companions, so it annoyed him a bit. However, the anger soon disappeared. After seeing it from above, he felt that the world was quite small. In his heart he began to think that continuing to act like an evil overlord was a very good idea. So these stars were made to decorate me, huh? Maybe so. Maybe the reason for my existence in this world is to get this jewelry box that doesn't belong to anyone. Momonga stretched out his hand in front of him and clenched his fist. The stars seemed to fall into his hand. He shrugged at her childish demeanor, turned to the demon, and said, "No, this is not something I should only have. Maybe I should use it to decorate the great tomb of Nazarick, to the Ainz gown of my friends and myself." A truly breathtaking speech. If you wish, I will immediately bring the Nazarick armies and take this jewel box. To be able to present this gift to my lord and master Momonga-sama, it would be the greatest honor I could wish for. At Demiurge's magnificent act, he could only smile slightly. For now we do not know what kind of creatures live in this world, so I can only point out the error in your idea. Our presence here is extremely small, however, conquering this world is a very interesting idea. Taking over the world would be something only the bad guys who appear on children's television shows would say. Actually, it would not be easy to conquer the world. It would create a lot of problems if someone conquered the world, since law and order had to be maintained to avoid a rebellion. There had to be unity between countries and things like that. Just think of some of these things makes the idea lose its appeal. Although Mominga was fully aware of these things, he had allowed himself those childish wishes because the beauty of the world at his feet inspired him, and also since he had to maintain his act as leader of the notorious Ainz Ooal. Added to that, there was another reason. More than once he remembered saying jokingly to his guild members, "Together we will conquer the world of Yggdrasil." He knew that Demiurge was the smartest person in Nazarick, so he should understand that all this talk about taking over the world was just childish nonsense. If only he had seen what kind of expression the archdemon's frog face was making, the conversation would not have ended there. He did not look at Demiurge, he only looked at the horizon where the earth met the sky. An unknown world, but in this world, is there only me? Did the other members of my guild also come here? In conclusion, being here was an abnormal situation. If this was caused by some unknown phenomenon, then others who were also playing the game could have been stranded in this world just like him. Although he could not contact them using message, this could be due to different factors, for example being on a different continent, or some kind of magical effect. If so, if I let the world know the name Ainz Ooal, if any of my friends are in this world, they might hear about it and they would surely come. Immersed in thought, Mominga suddenly turned to see Nazarick and was impressed by the scene. Skeletons were scattered all over the land, being encased in a thin layer of ice, and a considerable amount of rites and specters were being positioned to unleash the AOES of his freezing mist, or confusion of banshees, abilities, beginning to effectively cover all visibility of the tomb from any direction. It looks like, to entrust the organization of the defense perimeter in a climate like this to the servants of the floor of Cocytus was the best idea. It is as Mominga-sama says, the environment is perfect so that using the servants of the fifth floor was all that was necessary. With this, an early warning and surveillance network is established that is practically free. There is no doubt that you are the definition of unfathomable wisdom. But what is Demiurge saying? I have named Cocytus at that moment because I was going to ask him if he would not mind if I put the captured bugbears that Sabas had found during his recon mission around the tomb on his floor, but I hesitated a bit and they immediately drew their own conclusions. It was not even in my mind. Not even an early warning network yet. MMHM. Hiding Nazarick could take a long time. The problem is if we will be discovered during the process. How is the security situation around here? The first stages of the early warning system have already been completed. If there is any intelligent biological invasion, we will know immediately while keeping intruders unaware of the situation. Good work, but are these early warning systems also made by the servants? After receiving confirmation from Demiurge, just in case, Mominga felt that building another additional alert network would be appropriate. About the system structure, I have some ideas. Come later to my room to give you in writing some points that should not be ignored, so that you please include them if you have missed any. Yes sir, as soon as I have them, I will consult with Albedo. We will combine our efforts to meet your expectations, Black Knight-sama. Enough Demiurge, it's okay to call me Mominga. During all this exchange of words, Cocytus was organizing the defenses that would function as an early warning network. The forces had skeletons and pop zombies of level 15, ancient guards of level 30, ghosts of level 30, frozen rites of level 30, and level 43 soul eaters. Pajiha, I do not understand why Demiurge proposed something so complex, all that. The units that will serve as the first strike line need to do is attack whatever intruder that approach Pajiha, but there is no choice. Mominga-sama has indicated that it should be a joint plan, so I will do it perfectly. And Paji is a sound effect of a sigh which frosted the air at contact, exclusive of Cocytus. Meanwhile, in the air, the conversation continued. Understood. Could I ask what Mominga-sama is planning to do next? I plan to go down with Cocytus, and reward him for accomplishing his task perfectly. Demiurge smiled. It was a gentle smile, completely different from what would be expected of a demon. Receiving appreciation directly from Mominga-sama would already be a great reward. My apologies, but I just remembered something that I need to take care of if your destination is the location of Cocytus. No problem, you can go, Demiurge, I'm going to him right now. Thank you very much, Momonga-sama. Once Demiurge started to float away, Momonga also began to descend to approach from Cocytus's back, while once again donning his helmet. The fifth-floor guardian noticed the approaching presence and raised his head slightly to look to heaven. Seeing his master arrive, he was surprised. Waiting for it to land, he approached and prostrated himself before the supreme ruler of Nazarick. Welcome, Momonga-sama MMHM, you can get up. The job you currently have is really important because the inhabitants of this world could well have an average level of 100 or more. If there are such opponents, even with the alert network, it will also be necessary to hide the great tomb of Nazarick from prying eyes. This is an important matter. Cocytus, agreeing, nodded slightly. So, I wanted you to know that you are doing your job perfectly, and it satisfies me. That you are taking over this job makes me feel calm. Something that Momonga had learned from his experiences in society is that superiors should praise the hard work of outstanding subordinates. All the guardians had given him high evaluations, so, in order to maintain their loyalty, he also had to greatly evaluate them and their work. If the guardians and NPCs that his guild had created felt betrayed and disappointed after trying to maintain a perfect performance, it would be Momonga's fault as a leader. That was why he should always pay attention and maintain the attitude of a ruler in front of them. So that's why I want to give you a reward for your excellent work. Ha! I am not worthy of such kind words, Momonga-sama. According to your job performance, it is only appropriate to give you an adequate reward. No, no. Our only reason for existence is to serve the supreme ruler, so working is the most natural thing for us to do. But if it is Momonga-sama's will, then I will accept it with the greatest of pleasure. Momonga extended his hand and made one of the guild's rings appear. It was a beautiful gold jewel with intricate engraved details, adorned by a blood-colored gem that had the Ainz Ooal insignia inside. Surely, Momonga-sama is kidding. That is the ring that is only worn by supreme beings. I would never dare even think of touching it. Cocytus trembled at the unexpected award, and Momonga was also surprised by his reaction. Of this ring there were only 59. No, 58 rings that had no owner. This was truly a valuable item, so, to calm him down, he solemnly said, "Calm down, Cocytus, think calmly. Mobility between the floors of the great tomb of Nazarick is limited. You will be the main fighter if the need warrants it. It is essential that you will be able to move from any floor to the entrance. Not having the ability to teleport could bring many problems. Of course, the ring cannot be downplayed, so I will establish some rules that will be communicated to everyone later. Yes, if that is Momonga-sama's will, I will accept it with the greatest humility. MMHM. If I may ask, could it be that the other guardians have also received one? Although I plan to give one to each, you will be the first because I am satisfied with your work. If I gave a ring to someone who did nothing, then the value of the ring as a reward would be less. Do you want me to reduce the value of this ring? No, I would never dare to do it. Then take it, and continue to work hard for both Nazarick and me. Cocytus knelt, extended two hands, and bowing his head, accepting the ring with great respect. When he put on Ainz Ooal's ring, it instantly changed the size to fit his finger. He looked intensely at the ring on his finger, sighed with longing, stood up and then bowed deeply towards Momonga. I am grateful with all my heart for this gift that you have entrusted to me. From now onwards, I will work harder to not disappoint the expectations of Momonga-sama. Then forgive me for interrupting you. You can continue with your duty. Yes. Now that I remember, the creator of Cocytus is warrior Takemi Kazushi-san. If I remember correctly, his settings are those of an old-fashioned warrior. Just when Momonga was thinking about this, the Vermin Lord asked a question. If you allow me to ask another question, Momonga-sama? Go ahead, ask. Why are you wearing that armor? Isn't it better your usual gear? Well, because I wanted to sneak away. Of course I couldn't say that. How could he fool him? If this failed, then the act of being a solemn superior being would be spoiled. There is no subordinate in existence who would approve of a superior who wanted to sneak away and escape. Momonga was trying to find an excuse. but he couldn't think of anything. At that moment a voice spoke behind them. "It's simple, Cocytus." As Mominga turned, he was captivated. He could see a beautiful lady standing under the moonlight, which with its bluish light illuminated her, making her shine as if a goddess had descended. Her black wings were fluttering under the blowing of the wind in front of them. It was Albedo. Although Demiurge had also arrived, due to the beauty of the succubus, Mominga did not notice his presence immediately. Mominga-sama does not wish to interrupt the work of his subjects. If someone saw him upon arrival, they would all interrupt what they are doing and greet him with respect. However, Mominga-sama did not want to interfere with everyone's work, and that is why he disguised himself as a black knight. "Is that correct, Mominga-sama?" Hearing Albedo's question, Mominga immediately nodded. It was to be expected of Albedo, to be able to see through my actions. As the overseer of the Guardians, that's a fact. No, even if I wasn't the overseer, I think I would still be able to understand Mominga-sama's heart. Smiling, Albedo bowed deeply, while Demiurge showed a complicated expression. Even if he did not agree with her, there was no way to correct her mistake. "I see. So that's the reason." Cocytus agreed after hearing the explanation, and when Albedo focused her gaze on him, the supervisor's reaction was something incredible. Her eyes suddenly widened as if they were going to pop out of their sockets, and with jerky movements pointed at Cocytus's finger. Just when Mominga started thinking about it, Albedo's face suddenly returned to its original beautiful appearance, as if the scene from before had just been an illusion, leaving him aghast. "Is something wrong?" asked the succubus. "Ah no, everything is fine." "Well then, you can continue your work, Cocytus." "Yes. Then, Mominga-sama, I will withdraw." First, the overlord nodded calmly. "Now that I think about it, has something happened that requires my attention, Albedo? I apologize if I have made such an impression. I am here because I heard from Demiurge that Mominga-sama would be here, and I decided to give him my regards. I apologize that you have to see me with this dirty appearance." "None of that, Albedo. Your beauty will not lose its shine due to something like this. Of course, having such a beautiful woman running around in this way does not seem right to me, but for now the situation is very serious, so forgive me. I hope you continue the hard work for Nazarick. Whenever is for Mominga-sama, no matter how difficult it is, there will be no problem. Thank you for your devotion." "Well, Albedo, there is something I want to give you." "What is?" Humbly bowing her head, Albedo asked in a monotonous tone. Mominga took out a ring, and of course, it was a ring from Ainz gown. "As overseer of the Guardians, you will be needing this." "Thanks, a lot." His reaction was very different from Cocytus, so Mominga felt a bit disappointed, but he immediately realized his mistake. The corners of Albedo's mouth began to spasm, her face was constantly changing, her wings were trembling and so on. It was because she was suppressing the desire to spread them. When she took the ring she began to shake. It would not matter what kind of stupid the observer was, her emotion would be evident to anyone. "Continue your loyalty. As for Demiurge, I'll give you yours when you come to my quarters later." "Understood, Mominga-sama. I will continue to work hard to earn the right to receive this great ring." "That's it. With this the things I wanted to do are done. I should go back to the 9th floor before I get a scold." Seeing both guardians bow their heads in response, he activated his Ainz gown ring and began to teleport. The moment the scenery started to change, he could hear the sound of a woman yelling "Yoshe-a-a-a." But the idea that Albedo could use an expression as unrefined as that was absurd. Mominga only assumed that he had misheard. For anyone who could witness the current scene, him, observing the world without a sound, it would be as if death itself was deciding if the time of the living beings on which its gaze rested had come. But it would be wrong. It was Mominga, the master of the Guild of Ainz gown, who was sitting in front of a mirror fully decked out in his divine class gear. The mirror in front of him was 1 meter high, and instead of showing his reflection, it was like television, showing scenes from a forest. Unknown winter, it was the remote vision mirror. Mominga pointed at the mirror and gently waved his hand to the right. The scene reflected in the mirror changed rapidly. With this item, one could easily see the surroundings, and given the current situation it was a very useful item. I can change the images by shaking my hand, then with this, I will be able to see different angles of the same place. He drew a circle in the air, the view of the stage changed. Although he was changing the view in the mirror using hand gestures, hoping to find people, he could not find any sign of intelligent life, preferably human. He continued to do this monotonous task, but the only things the mirror reflected after each change were snowy shores and winter forests. After looking at it for a long time, he felt bored, and therefore looked at the only person in the room besides himself. "Is something wrong, Mominga-sama? If you need anything please don't hesitate to ask me." "No, it's nothing, Sebastian." The other person in the room, Sebastian, showed a smile, but what he had said actually had another meaning. The fact that he had left without his guards had made Sebastian feel a bit unhappy. After his return from the surface, Sebastian had lectured him. "Well, I was right. Ah, touch me San, I know it's your design, but you didn't have to have designed Sebastian with an appearance equal to yours, even his angry face is just as scary. After silently complaining, Mominga looked at the mirror once more. Teaching Demiurge the technique to manipulate the mirror to serve as an improvement in security was one of the ideas that he planned to comment on. Although it would have been easy to give this responsibility to a subordinate, he still felt that he should do this personally. Besides, actually, he had another reason. It was because he wanted his subordinates to see how he worked and to admire him for it, so he definitely couldn't let boredom get the better of him and make him abandon it halfway. If only there was a manual. With a bitter expression, the overlord continued with the boring task of experimenting with the mirror. An indeterminate amount of time passed. It could have been a short time, but if there were no results, one could only feel that he had been wasting his time. With a blank expression, Mominga made a random expression. Suddenly the scene increased in size. Oh! With an exclamation that contained surprise, joy, and pride, he celebrated like a programmer who had finished 8 hours of overtime. After some time of random hand gestures, the images had finally changed the way he wanted. Congratulations Mominga-sama, really admirable. After so much trial and error, he felt that obtaining a result did not merit such congratulations, although upon seeing Sebastian's expression of joy, he frankly accepted the praise. Thank you, Sebastian, since you have accompanied me all this time, I must apologize. That is completely unnecessary. Being next to his master and obeying his orders is what gives meaning to the existence of a butler. There is no need for you to apologize. But, that you have dedicated so much time doing this, don't maybe this means that is Mominga-sama who should take a break? No, there is no need, for an undead like me, there is no feeling of tiredness. However, if you are tired, it is fine if you retire to rest. Thank you for your consideration, but what kind of servant does rest when his master is working hard? With the help of some items, I too will never feel physical fatigue. Please allow me to continue by your side until you have finished. From this conversation, Mominga realized something, and it was that they all used game terms as if they were the most normal, terms such as special abilities, classes, items, states, damage, negative effects, etc. In the most serious way, they spoke in terms of the game. Then thanks to that, it would be easier to give instructions. After Mominga accepted Sebastian's request, he returned to experimenting with methods to control the mirror. As he finally found a way to adjust the height of the view, with a satisfied smile, he began to look for places with people, and finally, the scene of a town appeared. Located approximately 130 kilometers from the Great Tomb of Nazarick, surrounded by forests, was a town. At first glance, the town was not so advanced. Moving both hands expanded the view of the town, and felt somewhat strange. Ooh, so are there griffins in this world too? Wait a minute, are they wearing scarves? And that other one has a hat? How is it possible? Don't tell me they are intelligent beings in this world. Their nests are strange, they seem more. I beg your pardon for daring to interrupt, but don't they look more like houses in poor condition? Coming to his side, and looking at the mirror with his keen eyes, Sebastian gave a steely reply. You are correct, Sebas, that seems to be the case. Maybe they invaded the area and expelled the residents? But that would not explain why they are wearing clothes. However, the houses seem to be perfectly adapted for the beasts, doesn't it, Mominga-sama? You're completely right. I was so distracted by the clothes that I hadn't noticed. I have to be more careful. I can't portrait myself as an incompetent boss. My pause was already too long. What can I say? Although that goes without saying, we can't just override the other option. I see, so that's why you have mentioned it first. My sincerest apologies, Mominga-sama. I have exceeded my limits. Certainly your wisdom is unmatched. It's not important. What do you want to do with that place, Mominga-sama? Do you want to harvest it for ingredients? No, attacking is not the best option right now. Sebas, summon the guardians to the throne room. The butler bowed and retired to carry out his task. A few minutes later, in the throne room, the huge doors that gave access to the room were opened. Multiple pairs of footsteps were heard. All the figures posed before the throne while Sebas bowed and moved to the left side of the room. I have brought them, just as Mominga-sama ordered. Good work, Sebas. Albedo stepped to the front of the line and spoke on behalf of the others. As she prostrated herself, the others followed her example. We have heard Mominga-sama's call. We are here to serve him. We all prostrate ourselves before the Supreme One. You can get up. I thank you for coming so quickly. As the overseer of the guardians, I can assure that we all think the same. We are not worthy of the kind words of our master. I have called you to tell you what are the plans to follow, and assign the roles that each one will have. First of all, we still don't have enough information about where we are. With the remote view mirror, we have only just managed to find around us something that looks more like a town or small city. It is located just over 100 kilometers south of us. Apparently we are in a kind of large peninsula, which leaves us with the need to cover a sea route to achieve a direct approach to the mainland, albedo. Yes, get in touch with Titus in the Great Library of Ashurbanipal. If I remember correctly, there should be a good amount of materials to summon a fleet. Make a complete inventory that indicates the costs of each unit. You have to verify if it is feasible to form an armada. So it will be done. Demiurge, yes, form some exploration teams. Prioritize units with stealth abilities that are around level 40. Their objective will only be to gather information and report it. If they find some isolated intelligent individual and in danger of death, they can bring him to Nazarick as long as this does not expose them, and they should cover up any trace of our interference. I will live up to your expectations, Momonga-sama. Aura, Mayor. Here, Momonga-sama. All indicate that this world has dense forests. You will go out to explore them and gather information on the flora and fauna you find, bring samples of the unknown, and locate species that could be useful. As Momonga-sama order, it will be done. Answered Aura for both of them. Cositus ha. You will continue to be in charge of perimeter security. You can kill any beast that invades, but if it is an intelligent being, your objective will be to capture it alive. I won't let you down, Momonga-sama. Lastly, Sheltier. Yes, Red Heart, Momonga-sama. You will take care of all the recollection. When someone has something to bring, you will open a portal for them. In addition, you will be the support of Cositus if the situation warrants it. As you wish, Momonga-sama. Red Heart. Remember everyone, you must not be seen. This world must not know of our existence until we gather enough information about it. Yes, with these last words Momonga stood up, and when he finished he teleported to his room. Hey, how stressful. His eyes reflected an almost uncomfortable adoration. I have to work hard to be a good ruler. I can't disappoint them. Won't there be someone who will teach me to be a good ruler? For days earlier in Canterlot, it was a beautiful night since she returned and was released by the elements of harmony. Princess Luna tried hard to make her night as memorable and beautiful as possible, intending to be able to be appreciated by her subjects again. Although she still felt morally inadequate, it was very helpful that Celestia had not disbanded her night guard. It was a relief for her that the Thesserol who had followed her in his madness when she became Nightmare Moon had not got caught in that evil, so which they were allowed to continue as part of the guard. After finishing decorating the night sky to his liking, she checked his appearance in the mirror of her room. His indigo coat was basically perfect. She just brushed some areas. Her ethereal mane and tail that moved with an invisible wind and seemed to have its own stars was in good condition. Its regalia asterisk in onyx color with silver details were polished and presentable. Finally its Hof covers, and I will call it Hofwear from now on because it is a headache XD, in blue steel color, they were well placed and polished. She observed her flank for a moment. It was still smaller than her sister's, however she was satisfied, because her cutie mark was the largest known so far, completely covering her hindquarters in a deep black color, crowned with an image of her waning moon that always attracted the gaze of stallions. She gave a small smile when she remembered it. Once she was satisfied with her appearance she headed towards the throne room to bear the boring and lonely night court, but only a couple of hours after the court started did she feel it. Asterisk, female subject. History. Set of assets and exclusive rights of the sovereign of a country. MHHAAA. What a quiet night. Lieutenant at your command. Princess passed the next dash. Then it happened, something so big and unexpected that I don't need any special skills or detection training. Even if she had been waiting for it, it would have been equally impossible to prepare. It was a magic explosion so big and sudden that surely any creature with a superior to the average magical sensitivity would have felt it. Even though it was only a few seconds, Princess Luna could feel it with all clarity, a feeling so dark, so cold, and so terrifying that it was as if life itself was going to abandon her, and as it came, the feeling disappeared. Your Majesty, are you all right? This allowed her to release the breath she hadn't realized she was holding. As she regained her focus she realized that she was covered in sweat and trembling slightly, and all unicorn guards around were not faring better than her. By the Creator! What was? She barely managed some words and Princess Celestia appeared in front of her. The golden regalia encrusted with amethysts that she used to always wear was absent. Even her gold-colored hoof covers did not grace her hoofs. Her pure white fur was in a mess, lifted and swirled everywhere. Her ethereal mane and tail, despite keeping her turquoise, cyan, light purple and pale pink colors separate, was a mess. Even her sun cutie mark looked somewhat fuzzy, but it was natural. Her violet eyes reflected the same fear as their sister's blue ones. In short, her condition was worse than Luna's. After all, she had already been to bed for a few hours. Sister, did you feel that? I believe that there is no creature sensitive to magic in all Canterlot that couldn't sense it. It was so dark and terrifying. I can assure without a doubt that whatever the origin, it will make all our previous problems see as mere trifles. Just when Celestia was about to respond, a flash of purple cast the diarchy attention on the newcomer, Princess Twilight. It was Twilight Sparkle, the princess of friendship and the newest among the other princesses. Her lavender fur was stained with sweat all over the place, even her six-pointed magenta star cutie mark, surrounded by 5 small white stars, seemed to be sweating. His indigo mane and tail with purple and magenta stripes running down their length was somewhat disheveled. His purple eyes reflected his concern, and she ran to the throne with wings spread in nervousness. Princesses, did you felt that enormous magic burst? It was terrifying. I came as soon as I managed to catch my breath. What happened? We don't know, fair Twilight. It was so big and so fast that we couldn't even know which direction it came from. My dear Twilight, I know it is worrisome, but we don't know anything yet. We will deploy the Royal Guard to investigate the surroundings. We will let you know what we find. That's right, good Twilight, though I think you'd better rest for now, and it wouldn't be a bad idea for the elements to stick together, Lieutenant, exclaimed the Princess of the Night. At your command, Princess. Immediately, bring in the captain of the Moon Guard along with 3 platoons. Princess Luna? That will not dash. I know what you're going to say, Twilight, but we think the best thing to do right now is to think ahead. Luna is right. We would not be calm if you're left alone. In the morning I will send another 3 platoons of the Solar Guard to be stationed in Ponyville. But the Moon Guard that will escort you will also be stationed. Twilight, your castle is too big for only 3 inhabitants. We would be calmer if there were some guards with you right now. With a sigh of defeat and understanding, the Princess of Friendship accepted. Fine, I agree. You called your highness? Yes, good captain, you and your stallions will escort Princess Twilight back to Ponyville. Upon arrival you will be temporarily stationed as her royal guard. In the morning 3 more platoons of the Solar Guard will reinforce you. Make preparations to leave immediately. At your service. Back to the present, Great Tomb of Nazarick, around noon. In Nazarick's throne room stood the Overlord, stately and calmly receiving the report from his subordinates. But what nonsense is this? First the bugbears and now this. Demiurge, is this report verified? This is Momonga-sama. Unfortunately, so far it has been impossible for us to find a humanoid, human or heteromorphic species. Depending on the reaction of the captured individuals, it is possible that these species are not known or do not exist in this world, but there seems to have been some that are similar. What about populated areas? The deployed teams have not encountered any notable resistance or skills that deserve mention. It has also been verified that the Griffins are indeed the original inhabitants of the place that Momonga-sama found. They are not invaders as we had previously thought. You mentioned some captures. I was confident that my orders had been followed to the letter. Of course, I would never dare to make less of any of his words. Yesterday afternoon we captured a griffin that was being attacked by monsters, so we arranged the scene to look like they had eaten it. We spread some blood and some feathers. We also captured the beasts that were chasing him. Also, this morning we captured a pair of equines with a horn on their foreheads in a similar way to the unicorns we know. Although there seemed to be differences, they were dressed in what seems to be a kind of common striped vests and hat. They carried with them some curious objects that seem to work with mana. At this moment they all are in the caring hands of Neuronist. However, there seems to be a problem with language between us and them, even though they have no problems with a chat between different species. For the moment they just keep them as prisoners. We need to fix the language problem first. I will communicate your orders to the Neuronist immediately, Momonga-sama. Yaha, I don't understand anything. Now are their horses talking? What's next? Cows chatting about the weather. Has the exploration yielded any fruit? Yes, Momonga-sama. The Griffin town you discovered seems to in reality be a kind of train station that functions as the entrance and link with the mainland to and from a decaying kingdom. In addition to the vast sea around us, it seems to me that there is a volcanic island to the south area with a lot of activity. Although it does not seem that said activity is of volcanic origin, it is very much possible that the area is inhabited by fire dragons or similar creatures. Dragons? That's something interesting. In Yggdrasil, dragons were the most powerful race of monsters. I wonder if it will be the same here. Unfortunately, the units sent do not have the necessary skills to be able to cross the sea that separates us. If I remember correctly, the groups you formed are made up of Seidotamans and Hanzos, right? You are correct, Momonga-sama. If we are going to send them out to explore dragon territory, it might be a good idea to add some 8-edged assassins to the groups to increase their chances of success. What is this? Demiurge seems to be uneasy. It's something's wrong, Demiurge. Is there anything else you want to report? I beg your pardon, but I'm not quite sure where I should start. Say it bluntly, the simpler it is, the less chance it will be misinterpreted. Yes, the scouts reported a phenomenon that I dismissed at first, but after I received similar reports from Cocytus and some of Shalter's servants, I realized it was something important and you should be informed about it. What is about it, Demiurge? Yes, both the sun and the moon and the celestial bodies have strange behavior. What do you mean with strange? The stars change every night as if someone designed the skies on a whim. And both the sun and the moon rise and set rapidly over the same horizon, lasting almost the entire day or night at the same point in the sky. What you're trying to imply is that apparently, there is someone capable of controlling the stars in this world, is that right? I think the probability is very high, Momonga-sama. When they understood this, none of the guardians present could help but be surprised. But how is that possible? In Yggdrasil, there was no one with those abilities. Well, there were indeed specific spells that allowed changing the terrain, but control the moon and the sun. Perhaps it is better to be cautious and gather more information about the local population. Then it will be necessary to modify the plans a little. Later I will take care of the language problem. In the meantime, Albedo, what do you have to report? Yes, Momonga-sama, with the help of Titus and his subordinates, the inventory of materials for the summoning of naval mercenary NPCs was carried out without problems. We have ample reserves of Ghost ship fleet, books that summon 30 frigates, guard ship, of level 32, 15, level 35 propeller ships and 5, level 60 warships. We have a large number of scrolls cargo ship that summons a level 25 cargo ships, to the same extent scrolls, pirate explorer Ghost ship of level 30 and 372 books of royal ship that summons a 3-bridge ship of level 85. In short, we have enough materials to cover the entire sea with the largest navy in the world. Whoa, I knew we had many, but I did not know we had so many. Wait a minute, spending foolishly will be a problem if we do not have a way to recover the investment. Good job. I am not worthy of such kind words. Make arrangements for the summoning of 10 pirate explorer Ghost ship to act as scouts and transport for the ground units and also a Ghost ship fleet to patrol and protect the shores near us, as Momonga-sama ordered. Now that I remember it, I have to solve the language problem. I wonder if the translation item will work in this world. Yaha, there is no other choice but to try it, right? Momonga raised his hand and introduced it into the void. When he took it out again, in it were 2 items. One was a beautiful and delicate manufacture lens with gold details. The second was a simple but beautiful necklace, made of adamantite with platinum filigree. It was the translation glasses and the translator necklace. The necklace was not very popular since most of the players preferred to team up with people of the same nationality, so it was practically given away as a bonus with other items. Because of this he had quite a few. On the contrary, the glasses were an extremely rare item that could not be cloned and of a quite high price, for which there were only a few in his possession. Demiurge, try these items and report any abnormalities. The necklace is common, it does not matter if it is damaged, but the glasses are an extremely rare item that cannot be duplicated, so take proper care of them. Yes, I will treat your properties with due respect and care. Alright, that's all for now, you can leave. Again it was Albedo who spoke for everyone. Yes, then with your permission, we withdraw to immediately carry out your orders. Unknown date and day. Consciousness began to slowly return to him. He could feel humid and cold air. He began to see some light and gain focus on his surroundings. Then he realized that he could not move his head when trying to reach it. He realized that neither he could move his heels or his claws. He tried to open his wings to propel himself, but they were fixed to his torso. Also there was something in his beak that did not allow him to close it or speak. He could only stammer. Then he remembered, he couldn't make some money for food, so he went deep into the woods to find something he could eat. Start flashback *Q. If I don't get something to eat I think there won't be Gilbert for much longer *growling *MHM. He was ambushed by a pair of manticores, with such bad luck that the first attack of the beast severely injured one of his wings, leaving him running as his only way to escape. After a couple of minutes of running and trying to lose them, he felt a great shiver that ran from the nape of the neck to the tip of the tail. The manticores had stopped following him, but there was no silence. He heard them trying to get away from something, which caused him curiosity and made him turn around. What he saw was something impossible to believe. They were being held by strange creatures. They were as thin as paper. They appeared to be silhouettes with glowing eyes. They had long claws and what appeared to be wings. Their height was slightly higher than that of the manticores. They seemed as ethereal as a shadow, but what astonished him the most was the fact that these fragile-looking creatures had immobilized 2 adult beasts with only 4 of them, and judging by the ease with which they were holding them, it would not be silly to say that only one of them could kill both beasts without issue. He came to this conclusion after seeing one of the manticores struggle only to be torn to shreds in an instant, without any visible effort from his captors. At that precise moment his mind was screaming at him only one thing: run asterisk scared eagle screech asterisk. He turned around to flee immediately. When he barely took 2 steps he heard something that seemed like a voice speaking in a strange language, and immediately afterward he was paralyzed. His body did not respond to more orders sent by his head. He heard the voice again, but this time directed in a different direction. Then a shadow enveloped him and he lost consciousness. End of flashback. And now he was waking up in a strange place, gagged and immobile, observing his surroundings more carefully. He was looking for some way to escape. He was able to locate a large metal table that gave off an unpleasant smell of old blood, and near it something that looked like a small table covered with a cloth. Ariu finally woke up, speaking in the same strange language, entered through what was, apparently a side corridor. A slimy-looking bipedal creature, as if covered in mucus, dressed in tight clothes that barely covered anything of its body. It seemed to be obese or swollen. The voice did not help to confirm the gender of the creature. It was quite androgynous, and it seemed that it had an octopus for a head. Its skin was an unhealthy green-whitish color. Gilbert tried to scream to demand his freedom, but it was not possible for him with what he had stuck in his beak. Era? Arera, how strange. I can't understand you. It seems that there is a difference in language that fills my heart with sadness so much. I already wanted to hear how will sound the voice with which had an eagle mixed with a lion. And how much beautiful would it sing? We will have to communicate this to Demiurge. Maybe he has a solution. The creature continued talking and suddenly seemed disappointed. I uncovered the small table, and then it was possible for him to take a small look at what was under the cloth: hooks, scissors, rods and other things with sharp points, all with tips and shapes as strange as diverse. Some they looked like things that could be found in a hospital. From this table it took one of the syringes with the most normal needle of all. It contained a crystalline liquid inside. The thing injected Gilbert its contents on one of its flanks, even when he was trying to beg him not to do it, and again everything began to slowly darken. Unknown day and date. Wake up, stupid ponies. How much longer can you be able to sleep? Gilbert didn't know why, but he was grateful that the ball had been removed from his beak and that he had company. Lower your voice, brother. You, I think yesterday we got out hoof with a strong cider. My head is killing me. I'm not your brother, you idiot. React now. Ouch, ouch, ouch. What happened? Where are we? Phlegm, my dear brother, where we are I am not very clear. The last thing I remember is that we escaped from bad business in Gryffindor at dawn and we went into the forest to lose our pursuers. Then we fell for a hole. My hooves hurt. Wait, why are we chained to the wall? Did the griffin catch us? Shut up and listen to me, you useless shit. But of course, and by all the means that we will not, my dear caged bird. You can stay here. We are leaving now, isn't it, Phlegm? Are you retarded? Did you don't get dash? But of course we will not stay. You are right, Flam. Fortunately, these bird brains did not think of putting suppressors on us despite being unicorns. All you have to do is apply a little magic and AAARRGAA from the shadows of the hallway, in silence, Neuronist Painkill, Nazarek Special Information Collector, watch their interaction. Apparently they are able to communicate with each other despite being of a different species. It will surely be of interest to Demiurge. Without a doubt is urgent to solve the language barrier. MMHAAARGAA that sounded pretty good. I hope Demiurge rushes with the language solution soon. They will form a great chorus of praise for the Supreme. That same afternoon, after the Guardians met to report their progress to his master, Demiurge walked thoughtfully towards the frozen prison on the 5th floor. Momonga-sama is truly insurmountable. To think that he would already have countermeasures even for a situation as impossible as the current one. Not only that, the tranquility with which he takes the existence of someone capable of controlling the moon and the sun was as if was something not more important than squashing a bug. I am a complete fool, comparing myself to Momonga-sama. Just to think how nervous we were to present such an ambiguous report, and yet not only did he not reprimand me, but he provided the necessary tools to advance my work. He is truly magnanimous. I cannot waste his kindness under any circumstances. I have to try much harder. Welcome back, Demiurge. How is everything going, Neuronist? I think their voices would be great for the choir. It is unfortunate that they cannot speak our language. Although they communicate perfectly with each other, then nothing new has happened. I wouldn't say that. What do you mean? I discovered that both equines are capable of using magic, although it seems to be very different from ours. That will surely be of interest to Momonga-sama. Certainly adding this to the information we get out from them will be a good report to present to our master. That we get out, you say? You won't have forgotten that they can't speak our language, right? Phew, thanks to Momonga-sama's amazing foresight, we already have a solution for that problem. Arera, as expected from the leader of the Supreme Beings. So it will finally be possible for me to form the choir? Sure enough, Momonga-sama allowed us to use some items of his property and ordered me to report any anomalies. That's great. And your timing couldn't have been more perfect. They will soon wake up. Oh, I see, they tried to escape the chains of torment with magic, then they received the recoil and drained of mana. Was that what made them lose consciousness? Exactly, they are quite weak. Our visit will be postponed, for now. First I want to review the operation of one of the items as soon as possible to return them to our master. First we will review their belongings, and tomorrow morning we will start with them. If those are the orders of the Supreme One, I have no objection. I can wait a little longer. Following Neuronist closely, Demiurge advanced with a sinister and devilish smile on his face, towards where they kept the prisoners' belongings. Gilbert was sure that his mind would not last much longer. The torture was unbearable, he was dying of hunger and thirst, but he was not allowed that mercy. Every time he was about to lose consciousness, one of those thin and huge creatures come and do something that restores his health almost completely. They had grayish skin, interrupted only by dark blue veins that ran all over their bodies. They wore a long apron that covered almost to the hind legs, as well as a tight hood without holes, both made of what appeared to be leather. Whenever they were inside the room, it was to prevent any of the three from dying. The first to reach the threshold of death were the unicorns. They tried repeatedly to get out of the chains, only managing to bleed out from the injuries they caused themselves to the brink of death while writhing in pain. Then came one of those creatures, and raising one of its forepaws, a circle of light formed in front of the extremity, filled with multiple and strange figures, while the ponies were enveloped in a light greenish glow. At first, he thought they were going to dispose of the corpse, but instead, the wounds closed and they seemed to regain color. Gilbert guessed the creature had been nearby by chance, so he waited a few minutes after they left to make their self-attempt to end his torture. Plus the only thing he achieved after tearing out his tongue with his beak, was to wake up with one of those creatures in front of him lowering his claw when later the ponies woke up and tried to continue with their escape. Obtaining the same results, then he understood that it was not a coincidence when they were about to die the creatures came and prevented it, prolonging their torments. Then it came to mind they were not prisoners, they were being tortured. Oh, what a misfortune, they seem to be barely conscious. That way they won't work for the experiment. Neuronist, would you mind? I need them to be able to reason to get something. Sure, since it's to please Momonga-sama, it's no problem guys. The torturers advanced and used the unique spell of the torturer profession, restore, healing their famine, after which the three regained consciousness, feeling much better than they had felt so far. The first thing they saw when they opened their eyes went to the disgusting jelly-like monster, but this time it did not come alone or with the same company of before. The new creature had a tail covered in metal, his clothes covered him almost completely, and he wore glasses. He said something he did not understand. He brought with him an expensive-looking necklace that it was about to wear as he spoke, and as soon as he put it on, what he was saying began to make sense. Very well, let's begin with the experiment that Momonga-sama ordered me to do. Puts on the necklace. Let's see how the translation necklace works. Tell me, can you understand what I'm saying now? The answers were immediate. Everyone spoke at the same time. Who the hell are you? Gilbert, why do you have us locked up? Flim, where do you keep us locked up? Flam, apparently, this was no problem for the new creature. To answer all your questions in an order that makes them coherent and does not make me repeat myself. My name is Demiurge, I am the guardian of the 7th floor, she is Neuronist Painkill, the special information collector. The first thought of the three was, is that a female? As he introduced her, he handed her a second necklace just like the one he had just worn, but once it was around her neck it was completely hidden by her flesh. Era, how are you, little ones? In a short time I will help you form a wonderful choir for our master. We will talk later. As for where you are on the 5th floor of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. You were captured to obtain information about this world. Seeing an opportunity, the selling pawns immediately tried to take it. If information is all you want, we will give you everything we know. Flam, but please, for heaven's sake, stop this torture. Flim, something they immediately regretted. The one who answered them was Neuronist. Arera? Tortured? MMHM, what are you talking about? Since we couldn't understand each other, we hadn't put a finger on any of you, but now that we understand each other, I can help you sing beautiful odes praise to my master, the most beautiful and compassionate being in the universe. Now as a tribute to my creator who suffered from a disease named kidney stones, I will start with this. She takes from the small table a long and thin rod with an oval tip covered with small spikes, but the one who put the last nail in the coffin was the archdemon. You will be our guests permanently or until your life ends. Their faces showed shock, they were going to torture them to death. Ah, but you don't have to worry, I assure you that the only cause of death awaiting you is natural. When the meaning of these words finally registered in their minds, they lost all color, voice, and will to live. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video make sure to like and leave a comment and share it with a friend. See you all later.